Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Lock Shop. It is Dusty with you. I'm at the Windermere's Boston Pizza as we are getting set for the oil stream today, live right here at lunchtime, Windermere Boston Pizza. So I decided to set up shop in the Lock Shop. I got the TVs going all around me. It's absolutely great. And we got a huge day to set up in the National Football League this weekend. It looks like Huss is pretty much ready to go. Zach, you can bring him in whenever you want. There he is. Huss, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, man?
Ready to go.
Of course,
ready to go for Sunday. I cannot wait.
It's so weird to be feeling these emotions with you for like the first time in my life. It's amazing.
No kidding. Hey, like I've been with the Chiefs for a long time, but the last 6 years, pretty magical with Mahomes. 6 straight AFC championship games. This is just absolutely nuts. But
that is nuts.
I think the best story has to be the Lions doing their thing now. You know, it's just move my camera over here a little bit. You gotta be so fired up. I mean, one game away from the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions.
At this point, it's funny because like I'm not even nervous because they're like a 7-point dog against the Niners. The Niners are supposed to win this game. Last week, I mean, the first 2 games of these playoffs, Rams, I was super nervous. I felt pretty good going into the Bucks game. But this one, it's kind of like the old house money thing here. Like if they lose, so they lost to the Niners, who've been to a bunch of NFC championship games. And if they win, I mean, it's absolute gravy. They're off to the Super Bowl. And I think they'll be able to hang relatively tight in this football game. So it's nice going into a game that I know I'm going to enjoy a ton. But at the same time, I mean, if they come up short, will I be disappointed? Of course. But it's not like they'd be choking one away here, I don't think, unless they get ahead and actually choke one away. I guess, you know what? Let me take that back. If they're in a good spot and let it slip away, I'll be pissed. So I'm ready to go, though, man. I am fired up for this weekend. Both these games, I mean, I cannot wait. I think they've got 2 great matchups here in the AFC and NFC championship games.
Oh, man. I mean, you know, it's what the 1 seed and the 3 seed and the 1 seed and the 3 seed.
Yeah.
So you've got two teams. I mean, Dallas. Remember when Dallas was in the playoffs? Oh my God. What a moment, what a fleeting moment that was. But yeah, I mean, what you just described is basically what Packer fans were feeling this week. I had Brian Hayes on the program yesterday, and we had a good chat just before we got on and did the segment. And he's a big cheesehead, and you have not have thought like they were playing with house money. What a season, youngest team, Jordan Love doing his thing. But the way that shook out with the missed field goal, having the ball at the end, I mean, it was right there for the Green Bay Packers for the taking. And I mean, when I look at this game, Dusty, the NFC game, to me, a lot of it falls on Brock Purdy. Like,
yep.
If Brock Purdy, do you ever rum and coke there?
No, it's just an iced tea with
an iced
tea with a lime in it, I guess.
Cocktail glass. Listen, hey, it's Friday. It's Friday afternoon. Why not?
Friday, we're at a Boston Pizza. I mean, it's not super strong. I mean, it's just a little one. It's just a little guy. Don't worry about it, buddy.
Hey, listen, I'm not worried at all. I wish I would be. I wish I could do the same right now. But yeah, listen. I mean, to me, Brock Purdy is the central figure of this game. We know that the Niners defense is going to pose a very significant challenge to the Lions offense. And Jared Goff is going to need to be great. They're going to need to get Jameer. I think we might see a lot of Gibbs. I mean, he's sort of been that, they wait a little bit to get him into the game. They use him in the big plays. This is when you unleash your weapons. And I have no doubt that that the Lions will be doing that. But to me, my questions, and I mean, listen, fairly or unfairly, it's about Brock Purdy. Has he been incredible since being the starting quarterback of the Niners? For sure. Do we give him enough credit considering how good the team is? Maybe not. But I can't help but think of 2 games, Dusty, Christmas night against the Ravens, when he was absolutely shook and looked nothing like the guy that had been leading them to win after win. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think there was a little bit of stage fright last week in that game against the Packers. Now, if you're on the Niners side, I think you have to hope that he sort of got past that. Because he did. He was 6 for 7 on the game-winning drive, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that. But the start of the Niners offense, like there is the path that this could be. They could run away with this game, and that's part of the reason why this line, I think, has moved now to 7.5.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that look at this team and think of what the Lions are, maybe not giving them enough respect, to be honest, that the Niners can run away with this game. And if they get off to a great start, if they score touchdowns on their first couple drives, maybe we'll see that. But man, if the Lions can nut up and get Purdy off the field, have him shaky, or if he just misses a couple throws, which he has beforehand, I think you start feeling that it's much more realistic for the Lions to do that. I mean, with no skin in the game, although I will have some once we finish these bets on the lock shop, I just like to see this game be close, to be up for grabs in the fourth quarter. And I think that would be a win for everybody involved. But there is a lot that goes into it. To me, Brock Purdy has a lot on his shoulders right now. And with that comes a lot of pressure, and we'll see if he's ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. I mean, I don't want to simplify it too much. We kind of know that Christian McCaffrey's going to find a way to get his. I mean, everybody would expect that. The one area where the Detroit Lions, even in these playoffs, even when they've had success, that they've been, susceptible to, their defense being attacked is somewhat over the middle. Pat Gregoire made a good point on our show today. The Lions tend to play a lot of cover zero, which will open things up a little bit. So if Brock Purdy can take advantage of that, depending on what the status of Deebo Samuel will be come game time, the Niners are just a completely different team with and without Deebo. So, what's the limits on Deebo? Is he going to be, used as often as he has been used in the past? Are they going to be able to execute that? If he's not, can they get through that? The one interesting part is, the Niners defense will pose some issues, but the Detroit Lions offensive line, the more you watch these guys, and now they had some guys get banged up in that last game as well, but the Detroit Lions offensive line is just a juggernaut. I mean, they give Jared Goff a ton of time. They can run the ball downhill. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Detroit offensive line kind of holds up here, and what is obviously a big spot against a pretty darn good defense. So Jake Bullen Moss is going to join us a little bit later on here. He'll slide in here about halfway through the lock shop today, and he'll help give us his thoughts on both of these games as well. We are going to give you our official picks here as well. We've already kind of dove into this Lions-Niners game, Huss. I know it's the second game of the day. We can continue with that, or we can just quickly hit on the NHL last night and then dive back into the NFL and start with the Chiefs and Ravens. What do you think?
Well, you know what? Why don't we just quickly take care of whatever hockey we've got to take care of?
Yeah.
I am so mad with the Islanders.
Oh, buddy.
They came out down 3-0 in the first period. They get one back. They tie it up in the third and then give up a goal with 2 minutes left. Patrick Roy deserves better in his homecoming back to it. Although the big story coming out of that game was Brendan Gallagher. Did I hear that he's only getting a phone hearing? So it's only going to be 5 or less? I thought he would be pushing 10 for that one.
Was it just a phone hearing? Man,
apparently that's what Remus just told me.
Yeah, it's not in person. Wow. I thought that would be more than 5 games. I mean, that's a hit. Mike Johnson was on our show this morning, and MJ basically said, he goes, you don't even really have comparables to that nowadays in the National Hockey League. Like, when was the last time you saw a guy like blatantly pop somebody in the head with an elbow in the middle of the ice? Usually these things are like in traffic or along the boards. Like, that's one of the dirtiest plays that we've seen in quite some time in the National Hockey League. So I'm now, with that being said, I guess maybe the reason he doesn't have the in-person, and I still don't believe this, but Gallagher's never been suspended in his National Hockey League career. So I guess a clean slate that maybe allow him to dodge a game or two here. But that way, it's tough to steal the spotlight from a Patrick Roy homecoming in Montreal, but Brendan Gallagher managed to do that last night.
No, he absolutely did. What was the final in the Oiler game?
3-0. Just like Chicago, like, it was a pretty evenly played game again. Part of me during the game when I was watching it, I was going to tweet out, man, I hope the Oilers don't have to face the Hawks in a best-of-7, because it was just like they were being outshot at one point. You're like, what is going on? And then, I mean, they pepper Mrazek pretty good. In the end, it's funny. Like there was one power play, the Oilers scored on it. They didn't give the Hawks a power play. They had 34 shots on Mrazek. He was good. They ended up getting an empty netter to kind of seal it away 3-0. It was just like a tidy, boring win. But that's what this team does now. They win kind of like close, slow scoring, boring games. And they've hit 15 in a row. McDavid's first think about this. This team has won 15 in a row. It was McDavid's first multi-point game in like 9 games, which is crazy to think that they're winning that often with him not putting up like 2, 3, 4 points a night, which is it's a sign, it's a signal here that the Edmonton Oilers are a completely different club here under Knobloch. It's wild.
And I'm just looking at this. I'll give the Oilers credit for this because everybody gets it at some point in the season. But they have taken care of a pretty light month on their schedule.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday all month. And there's a lot of duds along the way. But it is the National Hockey League, and they won them all. So,
yeah, no, listen, I mean, I'm sort of joking. Like probably the most impressive win of this entire run, I think it's got to be that win in New York, the second win of the thing. I mean, the Sharks, the Kings have been terrible. The Ducks, Flyers at home, Sens, Blackhawks, Wings not bad in Detroit. The 4-2 win against the Maple Leafs, I guess. Calgary on the weekend. But, I mean, in the situation the Oilers were in, they needed to beat all the bad teams. They needed to beat a few good teams, and they just continue to do it. So, there they are, back in the top 3 in the division. The Kings are falling apart right now. We're now going, you know what? You should talk to the guys. Like, for when this player break happens, you need to get a little EST special on what the odds are for the Oilers to win the Pacific Division, to finish first place.
Yeah, that would be good. We get a lot of action on that
right now.
That would be pretty good, actually. I think that's not a bad idea. And the guys would probably let that. Yeah, they could get something up. They'd have enough time to work.
Well, for sure. I mean, like that's a great time. Like, and maybe we do the same thing for the Jets. Basically, win the division. Possibilities for that. You'll have a nice 10-day period. And I'm sure we'll also get updated numbers for things like the Calder Trophy, MVP, Vezina, all of that. Put your second mortgage on Connor Hellebuck for that if it comes out. So yeah, and then tomorrow, just for the Jet peeps that are watching the Lock Shop, looks like Velarde is going to go. He was out there practicing today. Scheifele was out with practice as well. Did the line rushes. Did not participate in the power play. So it sounds like he's going to be a game time decision. I mean, it's most likely he probably doesn't play just because, it's potentially a groin. You tweak something, you back it up. He's going to have another week and a half of a break after this game. I'll talk to the fellas and get a little WST special for the game tomorrow night. Leafs and Jets on Hockey Night in Canada. But why don't we get to these games first?
Yeah,
make our picks and get through. Like, we started off with the Detroit game, and obviously we're going to touch on the spread. Thoughts on the total, and do you have any props that you like for this game? I've got a few for the Chiefs game that I've already going into, but interested in your thoughts on what we get for this game, as well as when it comes down to players.
Yeah, I mean it's quite. I do have a few player props we can get to. That total at 51.5. I mean, I kind of said yesterday I hadn't sort of dove into the total just yet. I'm trying to think. What are the odds that these teams try to control the game on the ground when we know Goff likes to throw the ball? I mean, he's put up some big numbers there, but they have 2 running backs. They can kind of grind it out. Kind of come down to if the Niners and McCaffrey, like we said, they don't have to use him on the ground, right? They can get him involved heavily through the air as well and take advantage of some of that open space in the middle of the Detroit Lions defense. I'm sure you look at the same thing with Kittle. I still feel like I'm leaning towards the over at 51.5 right now, which sits at -111. As for some of these player props, just to take a look at some of the numbers, Brock Purdy over 279.5 yards. That's about 19 yards higher than where Jared Goff's total sits at right now. That's 260. and a half for Jared Goff. I think when you look at some of the player receptions, and they've got Jameer's game, I think I like that on the over through the air. That's a George Kittle, 61.5, pretty high number there. Laporta on the other side, 46.5. I like Christian McCaffrey over through the air at 36.5. That's something that I would possibly look at as well. Amon St. Brown, I mean, the guy's been an absolute monster so far. I do like Josh Reynolds if we're going to put together some sort of parlay. This guy's been heavily involved in the Lions offense. It's just 2.5. It's minus 161. So I'm not sure you're really going to want to play that, just play that straight up. But I really love it getting it into a parlay. I mean, Goff and Reynolds certainly have a connection. We saw it multiple levels in that last playoff game as well. So, I mean, those are a few of the player props that I would certainly be willing to think about and discuss and throw into a few parlays, and we'll give our official picks here as well. Did you say the line had moved to 7.5 us? Because I got it back at 7 right now.
It is since moved back. It's gone back and forth from 7 to 7.5 from last night. I actually saw it for the first time. It was just before the hockey started last night, and I just clicked over on Coolbet to the NFL side, and I actually just screen capped it and tweeted it out for people that might not have seen. Chiefs moving to 4.
Yeah.
And Lions moving to 7.5. Now it has since come back. Right now you're looking at 7. Right now you're looking at 7 and minus 109 on either side. If you want to get it to 7.5, it is minus 118. And the 4, which was up for pretty much the entire morning, has actually gone down. It's 3.5. 4 is not available, but it's even money on the Chiefs plus 3.5, and Ravens minus 118 at minus 3.5.
Where are you at on player props for this Detroit game? I mean, I like a lot of the overs on these Detroit guys. They're just, I mean, Reynolds will be targeted for sure, and then it's just going to be a steady diet of Laporta and St. Brown. So, I mean, those are some easy ones to sort of mix in, but who do you like in this game?
Yeah, well, my favorite one you hit, it's Gibbs over 23.5 on the receiving total. And I have bet that. The Niners do, I mean, listen, that defense is really good. I'm not sure that both of those guys will be getting theirs consistently on the ground. I'm not, I'm staying away from the Montgomery totals. Like, just the way that he runs, to me, I think those yards are going to be tougher to come by.
A lot of that's clogged up in this matchup, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But I think because of that, they probably look to, screens. And as I say, the thing that I love the most about the Gibbs number is that I think that more so in other games, with the importance of this one and the season on the line, they're going to get him in. They're going to get it into his hands more. The Gibbs, his total is 3.5. I was expecting it would be 2.5 for catches. I was going to hammer that. It's even money on over 3.5. I would consider that, but I definitely think the best bet for me is the 23.5 for the over receiving yards. And as far as the game goes, I mean, listen, I'll take the plus 7.5. But this is a light play. I think I was so excited about the Lions winning the game and knowing that it was the way they look coming out. I bet them early. So I'm going to stay with them. But I don't feel like this is not a huge chunk, if you will. This is going to be or if I was making the bet today, I would maybe make it a little lighter, because I see a possibility of the Niners, winning by double digits, getting out early. To me, this first half is so key to the game. And you know what? I'm actually going to lean on the under. I think that and maybe this is more a pathway for the Lions to win, but I really think that this is on the Detroit defense to get to Brock Purdy, to keep them down. And listen, if it's 27-24, I could see them, being in that 3-point game. I mean, listen, if the Niners are scoring into the 30s, I think we could be having that situation where the Niners covered the spread. But I'm going to take the 7.5 I'm going to take the 51.5, the under, slight plays. But to be honest, I feel much better about the bets on the AFC game than I'm more sure on that in the AFC than I am on the NFC right now.
I'm going to be on the Lions to lock it in here officially. I mean, I'm looking at him at 7 right now. I haven't seen it at the 7.5 for me to grab it there. If you moved it to 7.5 right now, it's still kind of in our window at minus 118. So, yeah, I mean yeah, minus 118 at 7.5. I'd roll.
I mean,
with the
take the 7. I would say. I mean, the 7 at 109. I mean, if you think that it's going to be, I mean, I guess it could be a 7-point game and you're getting off of it a little bit, but. I mean, if we're thinking about the Lions having a chance to win, money lines come down. It was over 300 yesterday. It's now plus
290 right now. Yeah. So Lions plus 7 to play here. We both like Gibbs. I also like Jared Goff over 1.5 touchdowns at minus 110. That number for Purdy on the other side is like minus 209. And for Goff, it's minus 110. We don't want to go too heavy on the Lions here, but is there anything on the Niners side from a prop perspective that you like in this game?
You know, it's so hard right now to say it without knowing the status of Debo. Like Samuel, like if Samuel's out, I'm all.
I know he was at. He practiced yesterday, and I think I've watched a few videos of him, and he seems to be moving around, dancing, looking like he's going to play a football game. It's just a matter of does he finish? How much of an impact does he have if he plays? Right, so.
Well, your shoulder.
The Niners are night and day. If Debo can't go or loses or is out, I mean, I would worry about the Niners.
Yeah, if Debo is out or doesn't play as much, I probably lean on the over on George Kittle receptions. I mean, it's minus 104 to the over for 4.5. But I think he all of a sudden becomes a much, much bigger part. Listen. I mean, I don't want the under 5.5 for Brandon Ayuk. I'd probably take. But it's minus 161, so I sort of stay away from that. As far as the receiving totals, again, if Debo is out, 61.5 for Kittle is very realistic to hit the over. And listen, I mean, if we're riding with the Lions here, and we think that they can potentially win this game or be in it. That 83.5 for Amon-Ra St. Brown and his total catches probably needs to go over because he is the guy. But as I say, to me, Gibbs is the player that I think they're going to unleash. Now, whether it's rushing or whether it is, I do think the way San Francisco plays, it's more likely on the passing side. So that total and maybe even the totally over 3.5 at even money might be a way that we go. Wouldn't surprise me if they go to him right away.
Well, we'll get Jake's thoughts on this when he joins us. Let's slide on over to the other game, and then we'll bring in Jake, and he can give us his thoughts on both of these games and some player props that he likes as well. Huss, I mean, I feel like I know where you're going on this Kansas City Baltimore game, but make it official, buddy. Lay this one out for me.
I am in. I mean, it's the AFC Championship game. It's the playoffs. It's Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking the Chiefs. Even money at plus 3.5, I think, is great value. But to be honest, I will be putting it all on the money line at minus 165. I shouldn't say all on the money line. I mean, I will bet the spread. And listen, I think the total, I mean, this is an over. It's only 44.5. I mean, if you think that a game is, if it's 24-21, you hit the over. I think both of these teams probably score 20 points in this game. So I'm going to go with the over 44.5. I like the money line. I'm going to take the Chiefs. And as far as some of the props that are out there, now I am sort of, I'm a Mahomes guy. This is a big game. He looked so good last week. I've got under 0.5 interceptions at plus 107. I'm on Mahomes over touchdowns at over 1.5 touchdowns at minus 110. And then I've also sprinkled, listen, if you look at the numbers, like Rashee Rice is a huge, huge total. Kelsey is like his usual 5.5 catches and 62.5. And I think probably the catches might be more like Baltimore, I think might be good at getting him down right away. Like, I'm not sure he had those big, big chunk plays that we see before. And especially if listen, I don't even want to think about Pacheco being limited, but he has been limited at practice this week with the toe problem. Kelsey goes up big time if they don't have Pacheco to lean on throughout the game. But a couple of guys that we don't talk about very much. MVS, who actually had a couple huge catches last week. And I think, with his performance in the AFC Championship game last year, I think maybe he's earned a little bit of that trust back. I've got over 14.5 receiving yards for MVS. And Noah Gray, the second tight end for the Chiefs. We're going to see tons of formations where he is out there. I mean, they're playing kind of more a tighter formation. He had 3 catches last week for 16 yards. He has not been a guy that has had a ton of drops. So Mahomes, I think, does trust him as an outlet when his other receivers aren't there. I've got over 1.5 catches for Noah Gray at plus 121. But to me, this is a Mahomes game. If the Chiefs are going to win, it's going to be on 15. So I'm betting him for a big game. I like the over on the total, and I'm going to take the Chiefs on the spread and the money line.
I'm feeling like you put together a little Chiefs player prop parlay, and I look after a little Lions player prop parlay, and we get those 2 bad boys posted today because you took a much deeper dive into the player props for this game than I had. There's obviously a few that I like. I'm glad we got Jake on. He'll join us in just a moment. Like how much of this, and I ask you this as a guy who's inexperienced in these situations, like how much of your play here is how much you're loving what you're seeing from the Chiefs right now, as opposed to ways you think they can actually expose the Baltimore Ravens. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's part of like how, you have to hit them in a whole bunch of different ways. And, but that has happened with the Ravens. I was going over the defensive statistics for the teams this year. I'll just pull this out right now, just quickly. It's kind of interesting. Total defense, Chiefs were number 2 in the league. Ravens were number 6. Pass defense, Chiefs were number 4. Ravens were number 6. And rush defense, both of them were middle of the pack. Ravens were 14. Chiefs were 17. Like, for the Chiefs, their path to victory has got to be not letting Lamar Jackson run like crazy. Whether they're spiking, whether they're just basically containing him, not necessarily rushing him as much, but forcing him to pass. I thought Taylor Lewan did a great breakdown earlier this week talking about the script to minimize Lamar Jackson. And we've seen it before. And he mentioned that playoff game in 2019 between the Titans and the Ravens. Like, I don't think we're going to see like George Karlaftis and Chris Jones going all out every single time to sack Lamar in the backfield. What I do think is that they're going to be trying to get in pressure, much like we saw Chris Jones on the big play on that 3rd down, getting his hands up in front of Lamar passing, but not give him lanes to just go out and make those massive 20-yard runs. And from a Baltimore perspective, they are going to need to take care of Mahomes, and that is easier said than done. I mean, the fact that the Ravens have a better pass defense than rush defense actually makes me kind of optimistic about it because we've seen Mahomes come up big against really, really tough pass defenses in the biggest games in the past. What I'm hoping is that Pacheco is able to go and they are able to establish the run. And if they are able to run the football consistently, not necessarily for 10 yards a carry or 6.5 yards a carry like they did last week against Buffalo. But the best way they can do is keep the ball, kind of like what Buffalo did to Kansas City last week, to be honest, have long drives, leave the Ravens offense off the field. That's not necessarily great for the over, but I think both of these offenses are good enough and efficient enough that they'll both be getting points. So that's still why I lean to the over, although the number is pretty low.
So, we'll get Jake in here. Let's because I love that we have him on today because I was talking about it on the Nielsen show this morning. And Zach, to come if you're listening or watching, let's throw up the 3-shot with Jake because I want to get his thoughts on. Like, I see this move to Chiefs +4 And it's fishy because I go, well, how are we not going to be on the Chiefs +4 here? Like the money's coming on the Ravens, so it's moved to the Chiefs +4. And I look at it and go, man, how are you not going to get on Patrick Mahomes +4? I don't care if the road game's played on the bloody moon. It's a AFC championship game, and you're getting Mahomes plus the 4 points, which makes me think they're trying to get us to pull the old, Jake's got the fish monitor on him all the time. And I mean, because does not seem a little fishy, Huss, that's now moved to 4 for the Chiefs? I'm like, God, I like it at 3.5. Why are we getting it at 4?
If anything, I thought the public would be coming in, and you know what? I don't have it on my screen right now, but Jake, what if you can? What's the breakdown right now, like on the AFC game, as far as the bet?
I don't know if Jake's on yet.
As the bets. Jake, can you hear us?
I hear you guys. If you can hear me.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Sorry, Jake. We got you.
Yeah. Let me hold on. Let me pull it up for you, Huss, because I know they had to fix. You know, when we were talking about last week, the breakdown that I was telling you guys about, and the way the money is, that little button that we found. Basically, they told us that every one of them was working except for the NFL one, which was a little frustrating. So Pat and I had talked with some people that are working on fixing it. I think a lot of it had to do with the way the line moves, and that's why some of the money wasn't showing correctly. Sure. So let me get it in the back end for that one. But just to touch on the fishy line stuff, yeah, I mean, they're definitely begging us to take Chiefs. I'm taking the cheese on it, though. I am on both underdogs.
Yeah.
I'm riding with both you guys this weekend. I just don't know how you're not taking Mahomes as an underdog at this point. I think he's 8-3 straight up as an underdog.
Straight up.
Yeah, straight up. And I think he's even better against the spread. So
yeah, he's 9-1-1 against the spread. Pat laid that out earlier this morning. So
there you go. So yeah, I mean, it's impossible. I jumped on at 3.5 thinking it was going to go the other way.
Me too.
Now it's at 4. It's like now I'm just getting on money line because I'm already on the 3.5. But part of me is like, just get out of the 3.5, take my loss on the cash out, and jump back in at 4. But I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in because with the way the line's moving, it probably should be thinking sharp money's going towards Baltimore, sharp money going towards San Fran. But I like both dogs here. It's a win and you're into the Super Bowl. Like, you can't tell me, I just can't. First of all, I can't see the Lions getting blown out by a touchdown. Like, and I know I've called the Lions frauds all year. I know, and Dusty's, he's giving it to me, and here we are. They're in the NFC Championship. Can't take that away from them. And I'm sure a lot of people will say, well, they played the Bucs last week, and they got the Rams. It's like, well, San Fran got the 7 seed. It's the first time a 7 seed ever got to the divisional round and barely beat them. So nothing that San Fran did in their first game makes you believe they're going to blow anybody out. Yes, the Debo factor is going to be a big deal, and obviously he didn't really play much of that game against Green Bay. But I don't know. I don't know. It'll be super interesting to see.
I might
be so terribly wrong. Baltimore's blown out a lot. I was going to say Baltimore's blown out a lot of good teams this year, but it's Mahomes. It's what I grew up with. It's the Tom Brady effect. It's like, you're going to give me Tom Brady. You're going to give me Patrick Mahomes as an underdog and expect me to take the other side. No shot.
More than a field goal too, right? Like,
I know
Mahomes here at +4 right now. It just.
But if you can just see, let us know what the split is.
I'm working on it. You guys chat a little bit. I'll work on that, and then we'll keep going here.
From the bets, Dusty, one other, what I might gonna bet this right now on the show just in support of you. Under 279.5 for Brock Purdy.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I looked at that earlier today and I was like, man, over 279 is like, that's a really nice game for Brock Purdy. To me, that makes you think that and I laid it out earlier. I mean, one of the ways you can attack the Detroit Lions is certainly down the field. To me, that's a 279 is like a number for Purdy if Debo's full go. Yeah. Like if Debo's full go, then that's certainly an attainable number. But if they don't have Debo, I think it's a lot of stuff more so over the middle to Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, which would take a little more work to get up there to that 279 number. And, depending if San Francisco gets a lead in this football game, I like Goff going over 260 a lot more than I like Purdy at 279.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm just looking at the conference championship specials, and for the highest scoring game, the Lions-Niners is minus 200. The Chiefs-Ravens is at plus 163. And there is, I mean, I can see a scenario where both Mahomes and Lamar just basically play their asses off. And even though they're going against good defenses, they make that happen. That at the number that it is at plus 163, that might be worth a little sprinkle on. Most passing yards for the conference championships. Purdy's plus 155, Goff's plus 200, Mahomes is plus 280, and Lamar is plus 750. And Lamar or McCaffrey's a big favorite for most rushing yards at minus 110. But you know who number 2 is? It's Lamar Jackson over Pacheco at plus 425. Jahmyr Gibbs there at plus 1,000, and then Gus Edwards and Montgomery at 12-1. And then if you do want to bet highest scoring team, Niners are even money, Ravens 3-1, Chiefs 5-1, Lions plus 550. Lowest scoring team, Niners 7-1, Ravens 3-1, Chiefs plus 150, and Lions plus 200. So those are just a few of those specials. I got in good with the specials last week with that Mike Evans at 8-1.
Yeah, that was
good.
good.
I'm still riding the Pacheco 18-1 on the playoffs from the get-go. So we'll see how that all works.
Jake, did you find that split, or do you want to give us some of the player props that you like for these games?
Yeah, I got the split. So I got it for 3.5 here. And I think this is part of the problem I was telling you guys about. But anyways, turnover for both pretty similar, and bets pretty similar as well. So, nothing that I'm seeing here is really showing me any. That was for the Ravens Chiefs at the 3.5, like both pretty even sides. So, a little bit more turnover on the home side on the Ravens, but in terms of bets, like very similar numbers, almost a 50-50 split. So,
wow.
Yeah, a little concerning, I'd say, for guys that are on the Chiefs, but we're betting on Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't think you look back at this game if the Ravens do blow out the Chiefs and go, "Oh, I was on the wrong side the whole time." You got on Patrick Mahomes. I'm just gonna try to find the Lions one here for you guys.
People just quickly, like I just kind of laid out the defenses. Like the Chiefs' defensive metrics are all better than the Ravens. They're slightly less against the rush. But again, both middle of the pack, 14th and 17th overall in the game.
But Huss, just quickly on the Chiefs defense, I mean, what was the final rushing total for the Bills last week? Because the running backs were combined over 100. Allen had like 72. It must have been around 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, it was close. It was close. But if you notice that when it was almost like they were giving them that, and then listen, the defensive line got work. But what happened late in the game? I mean, they stepped it up. They moved guys up.
Yeah, that's a fair point
and they will handle Josh Allen and Lamar, I think, a little differently. Like I think that they'll be focusing more on the run game and daring Lamar to, win that game with his arm, where I think last game they were worried about Allen's arm right off the bat. And of course his scrambling, but less about James Cook. And I think that caught them a little bit. They improved that as the game went on. So, the rushing totals in this game in particular for Lamar are Lamar's total is like 65.5, a big number. Gus Edwards, 44.5, Justice Hill, 35.5. So, I mean, like they still think that, the Ravens are going to rush for 130, 140 yards just by the numbers. And I mean, I sort of think that's fair. Where the big difference, though, is in the passing total. And I mean, Lamar's total for passing yardage is 208.5, as opposed to Mahomes is 243.5. I think both of those guys probably go over those numbers, to be honest with you, because I think Mahomes is going to get that done, and I think that the Chiefs will be probably fine if Lamar gets a few more in the air but doesn't gash them for those massive runs. And I said, I think they're going to be looking to contain as opposed to really penetrate and sack them. And hey, the Chiefs have great coverage. I mean, McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed, like I think they're more than happy of having, Ravens receivers go out. The one guy here that is a bit, and we haven't brought him up, and we really should, is Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
Andrews
like what's the limit going to be on him? Is he going to be
going to go
good to go, or is he
even money on over 3.5 catches? And I don't mind that because I would expect that in that first drive, they probably go to Andrews twice, like in their first 5 or 6 plays. You know how they script them up? They're going to try to get him into the game right away. So, and I think he could have gone last week, to be honest. I think they were just cautious and got him out. They've got Likely. He's awesome. The likely totals are going to take a hit though with Andrews in it. So if you're like me and you think they get Andrews into the game early with a couple catches, I think it's very likely he goes over the 3.5 at even money.
3.5 at plus 105. You're right. I mean, if they get him involved early, there's a really good chance that ends up happening. Jake, did you get the split on that Lions Niners game?
Yeah, got you guys here. So at the 7, and this will make sense when I break it all down. So at the 7, we got heavy bets on the Lions at the 7. Almost 70, I think just over 75% of the bets. They're also getting almost 60% of the turnover at the 7. But then when you go to the 6.5, it's actually heavy turnover on the Niners, and more of the bets as well on the Niners at the 6.5. So
the magic number there.
I imagine, the book's probably looking for, 7 push areas if I had to guess, but it just seems like those half points are really going to matter here come game day. So yeah, just something to dive into there. A few things that since I'm not on here too long today, but Evdog did message me about the NHL futures. I know we're on NFL right now, but you guys were talking about it off the top. He said regular season point totals, player awards to make the playoffs, all other team futures should be online during All-Star break, including the division winners. I know you guys were chatting about that. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, we can get right back into the football. I just wanted to mention that while
good heads up. Good heads up there. I mean, I don't know how much we got left. I know people are waiting for your Royal Rumble picks, so we'll get to that. But what do we got left here on the Jake? You said you're on the dogs with both of us. We're on the dogs. Huss isn't crazy about the Lions, but he got on him at 7.5. So we're all. I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but we're on the dogs. I kind of think the Ravens will win this football game, man. But I can't not get on Mahomes at the 4 points right now. I feel like a fool to not be on Patrick Mahomes in a championship game plus 4 points. So I would get on the Chiefs there to make that one official. So we're all seeing it the same way there. I know there's some people in the nasty chat who are certainly on the Ravens here as well. But Huss, anything else on this National Football League schedule?
I mean, I think this is basically what where we're at. I think we sort of laid it out. But I think, probably what we end up doing, maybe instead of our traditional partner parlay with just 2 games, I mean, unless we wanted to just throw up, I mean, the 2 underdogs together and put those together, is I'll put together an AFC championship ride with Huss, which is going to be the over 44.5. You know what? I mean, I guess for the sake of the bet, I can put it at plus 3.5. Although I really do just like the money line, which is now at plus 165. I did not think it would get this high, but here we are today. And then a couple of those props that I put together. And then Dusty, maybe you put together Lions with the Gibbs over, maybe the Purdy under. And
I like Josh Reynolds over 2.5 catches too. If we're throwing it into a parlay, it's minus 161, but I like that one quite a bit. So yeah, I could easily put that together too. Jake, we'll fire these over to you. We'll text these to you, and we can get these up.
Yeah, that's good. I think Evdog's watching as well. So
okay.
Sorry, Huss, did you have a prop, or you're waiting to decide on that one for the Chiefs?
Well,
game?
I mean, I'm just saying, but here, you know what? Here's one idea though. If we wanted to do just a partner parlay with props, what do you think about this, Dusty? These are the ones that we've done. Yeah. We take the Purdy passing total under. We take the Jahmyr Gibbs receiving yards over. We take Mark Andrews over 3.5
3.5.
catches.
Yep.
And then what's my favorite prop from the Chiefs game? Like, I don't really want to go with like Noah Gray or MVS or something like that. And maybe Mahomes over 1.5 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
What
No,
do you
I like that.
What do you think about that just for a partner parlay?
Yeah, no, because it's good because it leaves a couple, like it leaves Laporta and Reynolds and some of these other guys out there for me.
Yeah.
A little ride with Dusty Lions parlay. So yeah, no, I like that. So F Dog, if you're watching, that's what you say. Purdy under the yards.
Yeah.
Gibbs over on the receiving yards.
Yeah.
Andrews over 3.5 and Mahomes over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Okay,
So
perfect.
We'll put that in for a partner parlay, and then regardless of what happens in the games, everyone can kind of get in on a little boost with us on some of our favorite parlays. Yes, before I go, we do need to get to the Royal Rumble.
Yes, we do.
Tomorrow night, folks, sports entertainment takes over in one of those few nights where we can go to CoolBet and bet on the Royal Rumble here. And I mentioned yesterday, I was kicking myself because Tuesday and Wednesday, Gunter was 6-1 to win the Royal Rumble. His number has dropped to plus 185. Now it's plus 175. Cody Rhodes would have been the massive favorite a month ago to win this, has now gone to 3-1. Now, again, just for folks that maybe don't follow this, Roman Reigns has been the champion forever. Everyone thought that Cody Rhodes was going to win last year at WrestleMania, and he didn't. So they've sort of pushed this off. Everyone expects at some point Cody's going to get his win, and they'll finish the story, and he'll be the champ. But CM Punk has entered the chat. And because of the way the WWE is right now, they've sort of have two belts. Like Roman Reigns is really the champ, but they've also got this World Heavyweight Championship that you can challenge for if you win the Royal Rumble. And everyone has believed that Punk and Seth Rollins were going to fight at WrestleMania. So this is a perfect way to do that. CM Punk, big star, will get tons of headlines, all of that. That's why he's the favorite. I have learned, though, that they've tended to go away from the predictive, like what everyone thinks is going to happen. They usually don't do that. So, and not to mention, when we're talking about 30 men in a Royal Rumble, it's pretty hard to take a minus money favorite. So I'm not going to be on CM Punk. I do like Gunter. He's probably my favorite guy. They've been building up for a long time. He's beaten everyone. He's had the Intercontinental belt forever. So at plus 175, it's lower than I would have liked, especially considering it was 6-1 earlier, which was the number that I got Edge at a couple years ago when he won. But if you did want to jump on Cody Rhodes, like I think it's tough to imagine anything under those guys winning. I wouldn't mind it because now everyone's out and thinks that isn't happening. That's usually at the time when they would do it. So I think that if you're looking at a realistic winner at plus money, Gunter's my guy, but I wouldn't hate, and I probably will put a little sprinkle on Cody Rhodes at 3-1. You've got so Roman's in a 4-way match. He's minus 2,500 favorite. I don't see him losing. That's a stay away. The odds have come down quite a bit. Logan Paul was originally like a minus 1,500 favorite. Yesterday, he was a minus 1,000 favorite.
What a swing.
Now he's minus 714, and Kevin O's gone from 10-1 to 5-1 to 4-1. I'm not sure whether maybe they have Kevin win it and then they rematch later on. Again, I usually don't bet wrestling matches when we're talking about these massive, massive spreads, but I just thought I'd hit that. But the final one we can get to is the Women's Royal Rumble. And listen, I haven't been as on top of the women's scene. It surprises me big time that Bayley, of all people, is minus 115. She doesn't really strike me as the big time WrestleMania challenger, but she does have a great history. Becky Lynch would be an obvious one. She's a star, has been one of the best. She's at plus 250. But I love Jade Cargill at plus 600 here. Jade has not yet wrestled in the WWE, but she was a longtime champ in AEW. She's a specimen. They signed her a few months ago, and they've been waiting to bring her out. Now, I think they have visions that she will almost immediately become one of the top draws and top stars amongst the women's. And she certainly has the star power to do it. What better way to introduce her to the WWE universe and make her a big star than have her debut at the Royal Rumble and win it? At 6-1, that's where I'm going. I don't think anybody under that really has much of a shot. I guess Raquel Rodriguez maybe at 10-1. She's sort of she could be a main eventer, but to me, Cargill is good. When she gets in, she's going to be strapped to a rocket. This is the best way to do it. My favorite bet of the Royal Rumble, Jade Cargill, 6-1 in the women's event.
There is nothing I enjoy more than the 3 or 4 times a year I just get to sit back and watch and listen to you break down betting unscripted wrestling. It's my favorite thing. I just sit back. I don't interrupt. I'm just like, give it to me, Haas. Just give it to me. That's absolutely incredible.
Penner's Pancakes. Penner's Pancakes is with me. Let's go.
Yeah,
Jade is winning in today's world. You got to love it. Like Smitty the Welder, betting on a scripted event is crazy. But we're not talking about the NFL here. We're talking about the Royal Rumble. We know the script. The script is Patrick Mahomes on Sunday.
All right. Huss, what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today?
Well, Cowboy with a great question. How do they stop insiders on betting on the Royal Rumble?
Good question. I don't have no idea.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm sure there's probably people aren't allowed to do that now, whether they're giving people tips. The one thing I'll say is that this is more for fun. I mean, I'm sure, like, put it this way, I've never tested it with a massive wager on wrestling. But I would imagine the totals are quite low. I don't think you're going to be able to get 10 grand down on something to do with the Royal Rumble. But if you're betting $20 or $25 or $10 or whatever, just to have a little action for it, I'm pretty sure is this. Yes. Oh shit! Where is the mask, Richard? I should have put on my Chiefs mask for the Royal Rumble.
Time.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, that's too good. All right, so yeah, let us know. I hope. Who'd you say 6-1? Jade?
Yeah, Jade Cargill.
I'm gonna have to ride on this one.
6-1. Yeah, throw 10 or $20 on there, and then we'll see what happens. It would be. I mean, this would be a great call, but again. I did that we had Edge kind of coming out and winning a few years ago. This to me is sort of a very similar possibility. There's no one that needs that real pushover. Like if Bailey wins, that would be somewhat underwhelming if you ask me. I think that Jade at 6-1. And the only reason I think it's not bigger is that she hasn't had the match there yet. And a lot of people don't maybe know as much about her. But anyone that saw her in AEW knows that she is going to be strapped to the back of a rocket when she gets into makes her WWE debut. So, Rod Z. How about Rod Z? Like even Rod Z even has a Royal Rumble stat.
I don't know how Rod Z has Royal Rumble trends.
Woman
shorthand like that. Like, come on, man.
Women that have entered number 28 have run the Rumble twice. This is great.
It is incredible. I mean, that's absolutely nuts.
That's good. All right.
All right.
JDM, Dusty, you guys have an awesome weekend. I know the group chat will be popping on Sunday. I'm sure.
Yeah, that'll be good. All right, Huss. We'll talk to you later, buddy. Good luck.
You got it.
And,
Jake, we'll talk off air and big one tomorrow night. We may have to get a little WST parlay for the rematch tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. There we go. Thanks, guys. Jake, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Huss and Jake from CoolBet. Obviously, everything we talk about here is available at coolbet.com. And I'll just take you through a couple of things here at the very end. So Matthew Awanek and Evdog, I don't know if you're still watching, but Awanek, who's a Ravens fan, slid into the nasty chat and had to represent against obviously a very pro Chiefs show today. I do hope now that Huss is gone, I do have to say it. I really hope the Ravens win this football game. I'll be cheering for the Ravens, but I also love getting Patrick Mahomes at +4. So I'm kind of torn on this game. But Maddie threw this into the live chat a little bit earlier. So we can get this. It's a +333 in the bet builder. I can throw it up as like a EST, a Wannick Ravens, like ride with Maddie or something. Lamar over 59.5 rush yards. Lamar 2+ passing / rushing touchdowns, and Andrews over 29.5 receiving yards. That is nice. And the Ravens money line, obviously, on this one at plus 333. So plus 333. That's in the bet builder if you want to ride with the Wannick on this Ravens play. Remember, as much as Huss is a Chiefs homer, Maddie's a Ravens homer. So, I mean, and I'm a Lions homer. That's how it works in the National Football League. But he's got Ravens money line, Lamar over 59.5, which is still less than what Josh Allen did last week. And Lamar +2 passing / rushing touchdowns. And then Andrews over 29.5 receiving yards plus 333 if you want to ride with Maddie on that one. Penner's Pancake says Gunther and Jade. We resume Monday with winnings. Wouldn't that be nice? That'd be a nice way to go about it. All right, that is going to do it for the Lock Shop today. Make sure you stick around. We got Oil Stream coming up here from Boston Pizza as well. Some Oilers fans rolling in here, and Tommy and I are going to dive into the Edmonton Oilers, who've won 15 in a row. That'll continue right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Make sure you tell your friends about EST. They can listen on TuneIn. They can listen at edmontonsportstalk.com. Or, of course, they can watch right here on YouTube. Myself and Tommy Gazzola coming up here in less than 5 minutes on Edmonton Sports Talk. Don't go anywhere.